Welcome back, one and all, to Denny Thinks He Knows, a sports talk show hosted by me, Denny Glasser. Welcome back. Welcome back. Episode 26. How we feeling, everybody? I believe I just heard the whole crowd go wild. That's what I'm thinking. At least that's what I imagine, everybody. I hope you're going crazy for episode 26. We have an amazing show. We got Matt George in from the Sacramento radio. Also, Mitchell Mack back talking NBA. Of course, myself, Mitchell, and Matt, we will all be tackling the NBA. See how I use an NFL reference talking about NBA because I think I know, but I always leave the asterisk out there. All right, guys, we're having fun. We really do have a jam-packed, amazing show for you. So without any further ado, I'm going to jump right on in. In first up, we got Major League Baseball. In Major League Baseball, guys, talking my Cleveland Indians. I like it. We highlighted them last week as one of the teams to keep a lookout on. Well, you know what? They keep rolling, guys. They're rolling. The rotation's doing nothing different. If anything, Sam Hedges as the new rookie pitcher in our rotation, fantastic. I think he just went out for like 4 innings, 6 strikeouts. The kid is doing good. And I don't even know if he gave up all of like, no runs or 1 run in that game. He may be the next in line in what is becoming a true Major League Baseball pitcher factory over in Cleveland. I mean, just absolute machine after machine coming out of that rotation. Sam may be next. I'm very excited to see what Sam can do with us as the season goes on. I like how the lineup is getting hot. You know, it really sucks to hear Roberto Perez is out now for maybe 2.5 months with a fracture in his hand. That really stinks, actually. And I heard the story on him. I didn't see this game actually live, but he caught the ball just to save a run with his bare hand, and it was like a mid 90 mile per hour fastball. I mean, absolutely insane. That guy is truly part of our heart and soul of our team, and I like to believe the true captain of our squad. With that being said, the offense has been cooking. Cesar Hernandez really seems to be cooking up right now. Ahmed Rosario's cooking up. So there's definitely a lot to like. Obviously, Jose Ramirez continues to rake. And guys are really stepping up, finding ways to manufacture runs. And that's key. That's why we're winning. When you throw that kind of nitty gritty, scrappy kind of offense together, along with a rotation that probably will finish in a top five this year, possibly in all Major League Baseball. And on top of that, you got a bullpen that's just shutting them down. Brian Shaw, I heard through like a 98.5 mile per hour cutter today. And that's just crazy for a guy reinventing his whole career. He's more or less our seventh inning guy, but also, as Terry Francona pointed out, kind of our wild card guy in the bullpen. And then we also have Karinchak and Class A just shutting it down. Really like what I'm seeing, guys. I'm very excited about that. With that being said, Cleveland was my highlight last week, along with the Cardinals. Cleveland is 20-14 as of right now. The Cardinals are 22-15 as of right now, as we tape on a Wednesday night. I love it, guys. I mean, the highlights continue to ball out. Nothing different, but I am highlighting two new teams this week. I got the White Sox, a rival White Sox, 21-13 record right now. They're staying hot, man. And then we got the Mets. Finally, someone's emerging out of that division over in the National League East. We got an 18-13 record right now by the Mets. So we'll see what happens, but definitely trending in the right direction for both those teams. And we'll see if my tribe can take over first place again from what is now the first place White Sox. Well, time will tell. It's only May, guys. That's what's so great right now in Major League Baseball. But that just about wraps up the baseball's portion of First Up. We're heading right on over to the NFL. And in the NFL, the schedule was just released. We're going to talk more about the schedule in next week's episode. But right off the bat, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Dallas Cowboys kicking off the NFL season. Kind of seems like it should be an easy Bucks win, but if Dak Prescott is back healthy, man, that could be a big upset game right to start the season off. So going to be fun to tap into that. What would probably be a Thursday night football game, I believe. Other news, we got the big signing coming out today. I say big signing because it's May and not a whole lot of signings take place now, as opposed to a couple months ago. But we got Blake Bortles heading over to the Green Bay Packers, guys. Is it a sign that, between him and Jordan Love that they're getting ready for a departure of Aaron Rodgers? I don't think so. I don't think so. I honestly feel like somehow, some way, that relationship will be restored. I don't see Aaron Rodgers as where we sit right now. I don't see him sitting out in retirement, just hosting Jeopardy, and I also can't see him playing for another team. I don't know. I just don't. I see him somehow mending that relationship. Green Bay doing whatever it takes to mend that relationship. And plus, I'd love to see him and Amari Rodgers, the Rodgers combination. A little different than him and Richard Rodgers from some years back, but that Amari Rodgers connection would be something that, as a fantasy guru, if you will, I may be drooling over that one. Okay. And lastly, we got the Steelers with 5 primetime games, guys. Many didn't think we would get it. Well, you know what? I think that's a little bit of a nod from the NFL saying, yes, we want people to be able to see the Steelers in prime time because Najee Harris is going to be absolutely destroying defenses. And we got Ben revitalized, whipping that ball around to some of the best wide receivers in the game. I'm excited. I'm very excited. We're going to talk more about this, but very fun fact. I actually found this out from shout out Steelers Depot. Found out that the Steelers are obviously they're playing the Bills on opening night or opening day, that is, of football. But it wasn't since 1978 that the Steelers have traveled and played the Buffalo Bills for the season opener. And when that happened in 1978, we won the Super Bowl. And I'm going to give you guys a little spoiler alert right now. That may very well ring true to my predictions later on this year on who I think will win the Super Bowl. So we'll see what happens. The old shrug of the shoulder right now from me. But alrighty, guys, that just about wraps up the baseballs portion of First Up. You know what that means. And boy, oh boy, do we have a treat today. Mitchell Mack is back. And joining us is Sacramento Kings radio host of Locked On Kings podcast, and once was Mitch's understudy to what? Well, you're just going to have to listen or watch the whole podcast to find out. Welcome to the show, Matt George.
Hello. I'm here.
You made it.
I'm alive. I'm here. I'm excited. I'm staring at Mitch's face again since high school, my wedding, which is terrifying, but I'm here and I'm excited.
The man, the myth, the legend, Matt George, dude. It's so good talking to you, man.
I'm so excited to be here. I appreciate the invite, guys. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to chatting.
Oh, it's an honor. Thank you.
Guys, let's take it away. Playoff basketball is coming up really soon, really soon. And I want to talk about the seedings. I want to talk about everything going on there. But first, I want to talk about 3 things real quick. I got to talk about my man, Dwight Howard, D12, chocolate shoulders, the man. You know how it is. He joined the top 10 all-time double-double list and the top 11 all-time rebound list. Shout out there. Russell Westbrook. We got to talk about him. He's the king of the triple-double, taking over the Big O, and who will go far beyond a record we all thought would never be broken, much like Wilt's 100 points, but he did it. And last but not least, Carmelo Anthony in the top 10 scoring all time. He's killing it. And to think, like a year ago, he was kicked out of the league. Now he's back, balling, bigger than ever. But that's not playoff basketball. We need to talk about playoff basketball. So we have my good friend Matt. We have Denny. Now let's talk. We have a lot going on. It's not officially done yet. The seeding isn't officially done, but we're going to go hypothetically and say the season has ended today. The playoffs are starting tomorrow. With the way things are going, how are things going to end out? Let's talk first about the East. Okay, so we'll start with the play-in seeds. We have the 9 and the 10. We have the 8 and the 7, which is 8 and 7. It is Charlotte versus Boston. So let's talk about that series real quick. Charlotte, Boston, who you got? And why? I have a pick very specifically in my mind, but I want to know from you guys who you got.
I'll let Matt take the floor.
Yeah, first off, why the hell did you invite the Sacramento Kings guy to come on and talk about the playoffs? It's literally been 15 years. Like 2006, Mitch and I were, how old were we in 2006, Mitch?
2006, dude, I would have been like 12. You would have been 13.
Oh my God. It's terrible. But yes, I'm excited to watch the playoffs because it's not watching Kings basketball, which I enjoy at this point in my life. To me, it would, before the Jaylen Brown news that came out recently, it would have been easy for me to pick the Boston Celtics. I think They have drastically underperformed this year, yes, but where they have the Charlotte Hornets, where a lot of teams have the Charlotte Hornets, is playoff experience. And playoff experience, I think, is extremely important. It's overused a lot of times in basketball conversation, but at the same time undervalued with that's what the concerns I have about like the Phoenix Suns, right? They do have Chris Paul, who has plenty of experience, but the Suns themselves, the main part of their core, they lack playoff experience. How is that going to affect if they end up meeting the Los Angeles Lakers, who could end up in the play-in tournament?
First round.
Yeah.
So, but focusing on the Eastern Conference, I would have said the Boston Celtics overall, and I think I'm still leaning the way of the Celtics, but the Charlotte Hornets are so much fun. The fact that LaMelo Ball is back, I think they just have a fun roster that plays hard, that suggests that they can be one of those sneaky, crafty, difficult teams to get rid of in the early rounds of the playoffs. So I think I'm still going to pick Boston because of the experience, but I'm definitely rooting for Charlotte.
Oh, wait, Denny, you have a pick?
Yeah, I do. Sounds like Gordon Hayward's status is up in the air right now for the playoffs. If he comes back, I want to say with a revenge series, I'm taking Hornets over Boston.
I was definitely leaning towards the Hornets, and I'm going to make this prediction right now. I think the Boston Celtics are going to lose both of their play-in games.
Okay.
I'm calling it right now because
Wow.
Jaylen Brown is out, and there's been something off about them just this entire season. They've been up and down, and Jason Tatum has also been up and down this entire year. And so I feel like they don't have what the Hornets have in fun, and then also what the Pacers or the Wizards have in like pure talent. And like the Pacers roster is so deep. Watching that Wizards Pacers game the other night was a lot of fun. So I'll take Hornets there and then go 9-10 real quick. Pacers, Wizards, who you got, Matt, and then who you got, Denny?
I'm picking the Wizards specifically because of Bradley Beal. And I mean, Russ Westbrook, of course, too, but Bradley Beal is going to take them over the top. And I really quickly actually want to go back to Jason Tatum that you brought up too, because you mentioned him having a down year. It's important to point out the effect that having COVID had on Tatum, to where he still months later, because he got COVID, I think, right at the beginning or early in the stages of the shutdown. So March, April, May time of last year, over a year ago, he still has to use an inhaler to help clear out his lungs. So that had a significant effect on him, which is pretty interesting. And it's concerning, seeing as how other players, I mean, close to home here in Sacramento, De'Aaron Fox is right now getting over having COVID, and it knocked him down pretty quickly. Buddy Hield, he took months to get back to the level of play that we expect out of him. So COVID has definitely had an effect on players, especially with a game that's so back and forth and so much sprinting involved, so much heavy breathing involved, endurance. COVID has had an effect on these athletes too.
Dang. Danny, who are you taking? Wizards or Pacers?
I'm joining Matt with this one. I think Bradley Beal may be one of this generation's best shooters, quite frankly. And I think with that being said, you got to go with, if he rides that hot hand, man, it may be over before it even started.
Dang. Yeah. You see, it's tough for me because the other game last night, the Wizards took it. But when I was watching overtime, Bradley Beal was out and it was just Russell Westbrook. And you see how I feel like when Russell Westbrook is scared, he becomes really ball dominant, because since Beal was out, he's like, well, I can't rely on these guys. I got to do everything by myself. And they won because he got fouled. Like he didn't make the shot, that he got fouled, then he made the free throws. So I want to lean towards the Pacers, but I could see that going either way. Either way, I know that game is going to be an amazing playing game. That atmosphere is going to be nuts. And while we're talking about the East real quick, instead of going like by every team, Matt, is there a team in the East that you think is going to shock people, that you think is going to be like, man, people aren't talking about them enough, they will play really well?
Well, people are talking about them a lot right now, but the New York Knicks are really, really good. Really good. Now, they do have the concerns that I brought up earlier. They top to bottom lack playoff experience. I mean, Julius Randle is playing out of his mind right now, but as far as I know, he has not played in the playoffs, unless I'm wrong there. Now, Tom Thibodeau brings a boatload of experience, especially in the Eastern Conference, and with this new defensive identity that the Knicks have, I think they're going to be a tough team to knock out. So I'm glad people are talking about them. I just think it's great for basketball when the New York Knicks are good. Like, it's been a long time since the New York Knicks have been good. So them being in the playoffs, Madison Square Garden, I mean, it speaks for himself. But I think I'm going to sneak the Atlanta Hawks into the conversation too. Atlanta, another team that's kind of lacking experience, but a very talented roster. There's a reason why they're number 5 in the Eastern Conference right now, but just hovering. Actually, they're tied with the Heat technically at number 4. Miami has risen in the standings really quickly after the bad start that they got to this season. So you always have to look out for them. So there's the obvious top 4 to me in the East, but it's fitting that the Hawks and Knicks are in 5 and 6 because I think both of those teams are going to the middle rounds of the Eastern Conference and maybe even the early rounds of the Eastern Conference. I think are going to be much better than the West, in my opinion.
Oh, that is interesting because I feel like both of these West and East, like 1 to 8, are all pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like there aren't a lot of bad teams that are going to make the playoffs. You know, like how like the Pistons would make the playoffs in the years past, and it was just like, you know, what are they doing there? They're not going to do anything. I don't feel that way about a lot of these teams. Yeah, the Hawks and the Heat and the Knicks are in a 3-way tie right now, and it'll be so fun to see how it goes. But right now, it's Bucks Knicks, which I think the Bucks could take easily. But just yesterday, it was going to be Bucks Heat. And I was like, ooh, that would be, I mean, I feel like the Bucks would still take it, but you know, they have that history of last year's playoffs, the Heat knocking the Bucks out. That'll be really interesting. And then for the East, is there a team that you think we are overvaluing, that you're like, they're not actually going to do that well?
Oh, man. I want to say the Brooklyn Nets here just because I'm praying for the sake of the NBA for everything that the Brooklyn Nets don't win. To me, the Brooklyn Nets are everything wrong with basketball. No disrespect to I can't stand watching James Harden. I have ton of respect for James Harden with the player that he is. Instant Hall of Famer, no doubt about it. Incredible player, incredible scorer. The worst player in the NBA to watch. And you know, becoming a quick second is Luka Doncic, truthfully. With how reliant they are on fouls, getting to the line. What used to be crafty ball handling is now just straight up traveling. I mean, to me, I can't stand James Harden. He's just a piece of that. Kyrie, Kevin Durant, I don't like how Brooklyn has built this team, not to mention the buyout market, landing guys like Blake Griffin. I just think what the Brooklyn Nets are doing is classic mega market favoritism that is exploited, or that they exploit over other teams. Like I look at the teams like the Utah Jazz, who are at the top of the Western Conference, right? A team that built their core through the draft. Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert. Those teams, I think, are at an unfair advantage having to deal with the Lakers, the Clippers, the Nets. At least the 100%. New York Knicks, they're in a mega market, but at least the New York Knicks are building through the draft and have a young core, right? That's different from how the Brooklyn Nets are certainly using that market. So I think the Nets are as good as advertised with the amount of talent. They have to be as good as advertised with the amount of talent they have, but I'm praying to God they don't win.
Yeah. You know, Denny, do you have something to say about that?
I can't agree anymore with Matt. I think that was one of the most irritating things when I watched the Oklahoma Thunder break up. It's like they could have been the Brooklyn Nets the organic way through the draft. How I think any true sports fan appreciates across the board in sports. It's very annoying when a team can build themselves just off of a high payroll. It's one of the most irritating things I think, rival teams can watch. And how good can you even feel if you're a Brooklyn Nets fan when you've literally been basement dwellers for years, decades, and then out of nowhere you're now cream of the crop just because some friends got together and put on your jersey.
Yeah. They could have gone anywhere. Kyrie and Katie, they could have gone anywhere and made any team that great.
Yeah.
I will say with the Nets, it seems like their weakness is a big man. And the East does have a lot of good big men. You know, you look at the 76ers, Joel Embiid. I mean, the Bucks, technically Giannis, I would definitely put him as a big man. And so I think a lot of people have them going to the finals. I personally don't. And they need James Harden to be good. Like they're a good team when James Harden is out. They are a great team when he's in. But I still think they have that weakness, and they have the other weakness of defense and rebounding, which I don't understand why they didn't get Andre Drummond in the free agency. They got Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge, who retired, and Blake Griffin doesn't add defense, doesn't add rebounding, like what they needed. I mean, am I crazy? Like, does he? Yeah.
But look, who did land Andre Drummond is the counterpart Los Angeles Lakers, who maybe Drummond had the choice between the proven championship team, who is, I don't care where the Lakers are in the standings right now. You absolutely can't count them out as long as LeBron James and Anthony Davis are healthy, which the second part is a major question mark, of course. But the Lakers don't care where they end up in the standings, and they don't care who they face in the playoffs. The playoffs is when the Lakers really start to play. And we've seen the Milwaukee Bucks actually try and adopt that mentality this season. They're not concerned being the 3rd seed instead of the number 1 seed. Once the playoffs start, they're thinking, okay, we've been here before. We know how to do this. We know how to handle our business here in the Eastern Conference for the most part. So I'm not concerned with where the Lakers are, but it's telling, right, that it's the Los Angeles Lakers or the Brooklyn Nets, 2 massive mega markets that might meet in the NBA Finals, that were really the only players in the Andre Drummond sweepstakes. That's the problem that I'm talking about.
Yeah. I definitely see that going on. And before we move on to the Western Conference, I'll get from each of you guys, who do you think is going to the finals from the East? And I'll say my pick first. Personally, I think it's going to be Philly. I think as long as everyone stays healthy, they have Joel Embiid. They have Ben Simmons. They have Matisse Thybulle. I think I'm saying his name right. He's one of the best defenders in the league. Yeah. And then they got Dwight Howard. How could you not? But honestly, between their defense and their offense, which isn't great, but it's good enough, I feel like their defense will carry them. And Joel Embiid, he's got the cojones to carry him through. So I'll pick 76ers. Denny, who you taking coming out of the East?
I'm staying exactly with my Milwaukee Bucks. I said it from the very start, and I'm going to continue to move forward with these guys. When you got the Greek Freak already on your team, you're already at a great advantage. But I think, adding Drew Holiday this past offseason may be, a difference maker when it comes to also being able to shut down offenses, those high octane offenses that we keep talking about. Defense wins you championships. Offense sells tickets. So
dang, Matt, who you got?
So I'm not going to say the Brooklyn Nets because I can't stand them. I would say the Philadelphia 76ers, except they have Dwight Howard, so that makes me pick them.
What, you mean the best center of all time? Anyways, carry on. What do you say?
and just to be different, because I like the Bucks a lot this year. I liked them a lot last year too, and they kind of fell flat. And I think this is really a year that they can make a surprising run, because all attention was on them last year. They have to come out of the East. It's the net, or it's the Bucks no matter what. It's the Bucks.
Yes.
The Bucks. This year, it's like, well, maybe the Bucks window is closed. The perfect time for them to burst through. But I'm just to be different. I'll say the Miami Heat, because they did it last year. They've been there before. They've been on a rise as of late. If they can stay healthy, they have that same core together that played super well. Plus, Jimmy Butler is a cheat code in the playoffs if he's able to breathe properly from playing too many minutes. So I'll just say the Miami Heat to be different.
Dude, there we go. Matt coming up with that. Now in the West. So let's talk about those play-ins real quick. The 7-8 right now. This would be an amazing matchup. The Lakers and the Warriors. Oh my gosh, Matt. I want to know. So we know that LeBron isn't fully healthy, but in this hypothetical, LeBron is healthy, he's good to go. AD is healthy, he's good to go. Who takes that one game?
To me, it's the Lakers, but the fact that it's the one game is what makes it so juicy and so exciting. Now, of course, being the 7-8, one game doesn't mean they're completely out of the running. They would just drop down to face the winner of 9-10, right?
Yeah.
But I'm gonna give the Lakers the edge for the reasons I already said, just like LeBron, or just because LeBron and Anthony Davis are playing on that team, assuming they are completely healthy. But let me actually turn this around and ask a question to the two of you, because I'm curious about this. Typically, the MVP plays for one of the best teams, if not the best team in the NBA. And for my money, I think Joel Embiid is the MVP this year for just how well he's played, for how good the Philadelphia 76ers are. I think that's where I'm leaning if I'd have a vote. But I think there's a lot to be said about Steph Curry dragging this carcass of a Golden State Warriors team to what is a legitimate playoff seed. The 8th seed is a legitimate playoff seed at this point in time, and Curry's been insane. So let me ask the two of you, would you feel okay with the best player, even though he's a former MVP, the best player on the 8th best team in the Western Conference winning the MVP award? Would you be okay with that?
Because historically speaking, the MVP is like either the 1 or the 2 or the 3 seed, basically, right? Like that's the way it's always been, except for Russell Westbrook. But I don't know, man, because I mean, he is the MVP, like he's incredible. He's getting 40 points. He's breaking all these records.
Like if Curry's not on the Warriors, they're probably like 13th, 14th, 15th in the West. Like that's
if they just have a Draymond Green, they're the 15th seed for sure.
So
It's an interesting point. Because Jokic, Embiid, I honestly, if he was voted MVP, personally, I'd be okay with it. But then people would be like, well, what about Kobe in 2006? Because they always back that up. Like when Nash won or when Dirk won, they always bring up Kobe's stats and they're like, well, Kobe was doing this, and it's like, yeah, but they weren't, in the top 5. They were like barely in the playoffs, and so I don't know. He is the most fun player to watch, though, for sure. So if that's an award, if we can give that award, that definitely goes to Steph Curry. Yes, most fun player.
I love the fun. Mitch and I talked about this episodes back. We love the chaos of Steph Curry and what he's doing. But at the end of the day, from day one, consistently with Embiid, I feel like, they start out with like an 8-0 record or such. Like out of the gate, I think he's been one of the most consistent. And if I'm looking for that full stretch in such a weird year too, I think that has to count for something. I can't just go and be dismissed that, this was not a regular start time this year. So, you factor in the idea that, on a weird off season, Joel Embiid came from the start, didn't need a halfway point to get going, and still consistently bringing this ship right on through into the playoffs. He has my vote, if my vote counts anywhere.
Only downside, is the games played. And I saw something the other day that Nikola Jokic is the only All-Star that's played every single game this season. And I think that's why he will get the MVP in the end. But if Steph Curry got it, if Joel Embiid got it, it would be very fitting. I wouldn't mind. I think that speaks to the talent of the NBA this year and how fun everything is this year and how wild everything is this year. Totally crazy.
But the MVP is supposed to be a regular season award, but we know it's not completely. And the biggest thing about Jokic that he's going to have to face, because I agree, Jokic has been incredible. Now, for some reason, the Denver Nuggets got swept by the Sacramento Kings. Add them to the list of weird teams that were just swept by the Kings this year, including the Dallas Mavericks.
The Mavs, yeah.
It just doesn't make sense why the Nuggets struggled so much against Sacramento, but hey, I guess it was a bad matchup. But Nikola Jokic has been phenomenal. What he's doing, he's just absolutely incredible and deserves all the praise and respect on the planet. But at the same time, too, the Denver Nuggets have to do something in the West because at first they were battling with trying to catch the juggernauts that are the Lakers and Clippers. Now they've been leapfrogged by the Jazz and Suns. So here the Nuggets are just kind of flowing in this. Are we good? Are we not? Are we contenders? Are we not? And I love head coach Mike Malone, but I think a lot of how the Nuggets perform in the playoffs really is going to influence votes the way of Nikola Jokic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll be interesting because, last year's playoff run, though, was amazing, but that was in part to Jamal Murray. Yes. Who's not going to be there this year. He was saving them like every, 5th, 6th, 7th game. He was like, all right, 50 points, I guess. Here we go,
He was like second place, the bubble MVP, right? To Damian Lillard or something like that. Like, he was incredible for the Nuggets during the bubble, and now it's Nikola Jokic. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, and Michael Porter Jr. has been really stepping up. It's always so sad to see a player go down, but you love that next man up mentality, and he has really been filling those numbers, just killing it. And so I'm going to ask the same questions as before. Is there a team you think we're undervaluing in the West?
I think it's the Utah Jazz. And
which is crazy because they're a 1 seed.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear your answers on this, especially yours, Denny. But the Utah Jazz, to me, have been completely overlooked and disrespected. They're the number one team in the Western Conference, but everybody's talking about the Lakers, and then everybody's talking about the Brooklyn Nets. And like I said, the Jazz are a team that's easy for me to root for because they've done things the right way. They built their core through the draft and added pieces to it that work in free agency, made that trade, I think, for Mike Conley, right? And at first it didn't work out. And then Conley has completely revived his career and is playing out of his mind, finally made an all-star game, which is awesome. So the Utah Jazz, I just feel are massively disrespected. But at the same time, too, they have to show up, they have to play well, or it's just a waste of time. They're just a good regular season team that can't get a job done when it matters.
I'm with you, Matt. I think two big things is they have the coaching, they have the chemistry. When it comes to, you're going up against some of the, juggernauts of that conference, even with the Lakers, talent for talent, you're like the Lakers have the ability with the talent to have mistakes throughout the game and still be able to keep this thing within a 6-point deficit at worst, in the last 2 minutes where, AD LeBron can go crazy. do the Jazz have that? I think the Jazz are going to have to play perfect games, much like when the Heat were in a similar situation last year. You need to play darn near perfect basketball, and literally sometimes out of body basketball, like Jimmy Buckets did last year, in order to make it happen. But chemistry and coaching, I feel like you see the product all throughout the entire season. So that's kind of without needing to be said. But beyond that, talent wise, that's the big question mark when you're going up against big Goliaths like LeBron.
Yeah, I mean, the Jazz have it in defense and in three-point shooting. Their three-point shooting, I think they're leading the league in it. Absolutely incredible. For me, I think an underrated team, I was thinking about this, I think it's kind of the Clippers. Because, last year they came together and everyone was like, man, they're going to freaking take this championship. And they bombed in the playoffs. And so now really no one's talking about them as an actual contender, which is weird because I was also thinking, well, the Suns are kind of underrated too. It's like the top three teams in the West are all very undervalued when it comes to like legitimate playoff runs that people think they can make. So yeah, I'll say the Clippers because when you have Kawhi and when Kawhi's locked in, dude, good luck.
And Paul George is so much better than what he showed in the Orlando bubble. So he has my last name, so I got to root for him.
You got to legally.
That's my brother.
It's my bro. And so opposite question, who do you think is gonna who do you think is gonna underperform this year's playoffs?
The Dallas Mavericks aren't good. Like the Dallas Mavericks are not a good basketball team.
Bum, bum, bum.
I'm sorry. And this sounds like Luka hate from a Sacramento perspective. And part of it kind of is, but the Dallas Mavericks are not a good basketball team. Even with Kristaps Porzingis healthy, they have no bench. They are extremely reliant on one guy. I mean, the Dallas Mavericks are, in my just opinion, not a good basketball team. I think the Dallas Mavericks are a first round exit, regardless of who they play. I think they're getting knocked out in the first round. Maybe they win a game or two just off of the back of Luka Doncic alone. But if you hold Luka, if you let Luka score 40 and nobody else does anything, you beat the Mavericks. Like it's really that easy. And let him whine and complain to the refs. Let him get a technical foul. Let him get ejected again somehow, and just win the series. That's really. And maybe I'm undervaluing Dallas. I'm sorry, Dallas Mavericks fans, but the Mavericks just to me are not a good basketball team.
Forgot to tell you, Matt, we actually have a very big Dallas Mavericks following.
Oh,
Suckers.
Huge. Hey, I have a question. So I proposed this on this podcast, and my dad, he's a huge Mavs fan. I said they should trade Porzingis because he's always injured, and apparently Luka and Porzingis don't get along off the court, and he doesn't like the fact that he's second fiddle. Would you, if you were Mark Cuban, would you be like, yeah, I'll get up a package for Porzingis?
You have to. I mean, at this point, you have to. You need more help in Dallas. And as much as the combo sounds like it could be great, and it, I guess, could be great, it hasn't worked. It's probably not going to work, and you want to maximize your window as long as you can right now. So yeah, the Dallas Mavericks absolutely have to make moves, and Kristaps Porzingis is 100% on the block, at least in my mind.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And he never plays. So if you can get healthy guys out of a deal with him, I would definitely do it. And if you can get a guy that's like, 6'10", plays defense, rebounds, like, yeah, do it. Because you're talking about how they don't have a lot of good players. They need defense, they need rebounding. And that's something that Porzingis can give at times when he's fully healthy. But then sometimes he acts like he's like 6'8", and all he can do is jump shoot. So yeah, I'm glad you're with me on that one. But so question, who's coming out of the West? Who you got, Matt?
Oh, I want it to be Utah. I really want it to be Utah or Denver, but I don't think it's going to be. I think it's going to be either the Clippers or the Lakers. It's going to be an LA team. I'll say the Clippers. But it's hard. It's always hard to pick against LeBron. It just is. It's like betting against the San Antonio Spurs back in the day. You just know they're going to be there. So yeah. I'll say the Clippers.
Denny, who you got?
Clippers.
Coming out of the West? Ooh,
Clippers. I know. I like to have a different take too, but Matt, I can tell you, I've been picking Kawhi Leonard from the start to be my MVP. I will go down with that ship. So, give me my MVP. Give me my.
I've tried to get him off the MVP talk. I get him coming out of the West, but MVP is a little.
Bring your formation device.
Yeah, for me, it's tough. A part of me wants to say the Lakers. A part of me wants to say the Jazz. And I love the Jazz so much. I love Rudy Gobert. I love Donovan Mitchell's game. He really reminds me of Dwayne Wade. And like, he's not going to get like 13 assists a game, but he knows how to move the ball. He knows how to play defense. He brings a lot of energy. He can score 50 if he needs to. It could be mid-range. It could be 3-pointers. So yeah, I just talked myself up on it. I'm going to go Jazz. Boom. There we go. Sorry, Laker fans. But if LeBron was fully healthy, I'd probably be saying Lakers for sure.
Yeah.
But now the final question, who's taking it all? So we talked about who's coming out of the East, who's coming out of the West, but like, who is winning this trophy at the end of the day? The most important thing.
I think my favorite part about these playoffs coming up is the fact that I do have hesitation answering this question, because in years past, it's kind of been a shoo-in. Like, I think it's going to be this team, or we know that team's going to be there no matter what.
It's going to be the Warriors.
Yeah, exactly. The Warriors or the Cavs. So the two teams I picked, Clippers and Heat, so it has to be one of the two. Give me Miami, because they've been there. Yeah, give me Miami.
Dude, over the Clips, dude. That's
okay.
Crazy.
Give me Miami. They got there last year. This year they'll make it back. The Cinderella story after their terrible start, and they'll get the job done. But I think that series would go 6 or 7. Actually, I would say it goes 7, to be honest with you.
I mean, with Bam and with Jimmy, and then the two white guys, Duncan Robinson and Hero.
Just call them the two white guys.
The two white guys. that they have T-shirts they go by. I could definitely see it. For me, if I'm picking between 76ers and Jazz, that's really tough. I don't know. I think I would go 76ers, and I would say, because I think Joel Embiid could take Gobert.
Yep.
And it'd be a good series, and then Dwight will get his second ring. Denny, who you taking, man?
Well, you know what? Although my MVP would be crushing it in the finals, I'm going Bucks, and I'm going in Bucks in 7. So NBA ratings will love that. That'll be a full 7-game slate. Give me the Greek Freak, man, all day.
Oh yeah, I'll call 76ers in 6, so I can put an actual number to it. There we go. We all put a number to it. We're so professional, guys.
We're putting all the money down today.
We're putting Matt's pillow mattress behind him down right now. That does look soft, man.
My squishy wall. I just like to hug it when the Kings lose, which is awesome.
It's like an everyday thing.
Yeah, it's just a comfort thing.
Oh my goodness. I still got to get that upgraded Zoom, guys. So pardon the interruption.
It's just because I talk too much. This was supposed to be a 20-minute conversation. We're on hour 7.
Dude, I freaking loved it, man. I mean, the insight you bring is
amazing.
Next level.
Thank you.
If only the Kings were as good as you were knowledgeable.
Well, if I were knowledgeable, I'd know to drop the Kings. I could do something better with my life, but I can't. I'm addicted. I love this team. No, it's a joke in sports media. You should never cover your favorite team, because you get this incredible access, and the stuff that I get to do for a living is amazing. And being able to talk to current players and former players. I work with one of my heroes growing up in Doug Christie. I literally work with him and see him every single day.
Awesome.
So it's awesome, but at the same time, it's maddening to cover the team that you support, because you want to see them do well, but you have to stay impartial, at least while you're sitting in the media section. That's why I have chosen, and I know, Denny, you're a baseball guy. That's why I have chosen, I'm a diehard Oakland A's fan, and I've been offered many opportunities to go to A's games, to go to the Coliseum as a credentialed media member. I've refused every time, because there's no way that I can sit through a 9-inning A's baseball game without outbursts in
I'm with you.
the press box. Now I've gotten it down to a science with the Sacramento Kings. I just kind of clench my fists under the table when something happens. But
I give you credit for that.
There's no chance. There's no chance in Oakland. I'd be banging a trash can every time the Astros came to town.
Dude, well, I think that's a testament to how good you are at your job, man. Like, on a real note, that is incredible that they're reaching out to you like that. Like, you should give yourself props for that. That's amazing, man.
That is.
Pat on the back. Just because
I'm patting you right now.
It's because you're so good looking. I mean, you're just a delightful looking idiot. You are.
You didn't tell me this was going to be on video before. You didn't tell me, and I don't like that.
There are many things we don't tell you.
Yeah.
Like the next segment, we're doing an animal sacrifice.
Oh, well.
Oh, well.
That's up the alley. going to at risk of taking this down a horrible rabbit hole, which sorry to completely tank your show and all your wonderful ratings that you've worked hard to build up. Mitch, the other day I was going through a box of old high school stuff and I found, and I'm not kidding, you remember those square like theater makeup kits that we all were forced to buy? I found my like used one with like half used makeup and all the sponges and crap that everybody had to teach me how to use because I had no idea. Just so everybody knows, Mitch and I went to high school together. We did high school theater together. That's how we know each other. So
Oh yeah, dude, we killed it. Matt and I we did a two-man show that Matt wrote. It was hilarious. Everyone loved it.
Oh wow.
I might be hyping it up a little much, but still.
A lot much.
We may have to throw a clip on one of these upcoming shows.
One of these shows.
It's on Facebook, I think.
Okay.
I'll have to look that up. But Matt, dude, we really can't thank you enough for being here.
Definitely.
Like, you're such a pro. I loved all your takes. You're so insightful. Thank you so much. And I want to give a shout out to your "We Don't Need Luca" songs. I believe there are 2 of them, right? That you have.
Yep, we Don't Need Luca is the first one, which is a parody to Hallelujah, which is a response to the Ringers parody of Hallelujah. And then the second song is a original rap song. I can't believe I did that. And I actually went to a legit studio in Sacramento with a legit producer to have them produce everything. I still wrote it and performed it and tanked it.
Wow.
But I went to a legit recording group or company here in Sacramento to lay everything down, and even they couldn't save it. And it's a rap song about why the Kings are better off with Marvin Bagley, and they've both aged perfectly. They're both 100% correct, and I don't want to hear otherwise.
Oh my gosh, just amazing! So humble.
Let's
this
listen
guy.
to this. Oh my goodness, Matt! Truly, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an honor having you, and I'd love to have you back. We'd love to have you back. It would be great.
Anytime, guys. Anytime. Seriously, when Mitch reached out, it's always good to hear Mitch. So when Mitch reached out, I was very excited to jump on board. And Denny, it's wonderful to be able to join you and talk to you. And now I'm a fan of the podcast as well, so I'll be listening. And anytime you guys want to have me on, I am no hesitation. I'm happy to come on and talk about anything.
I appreciate that. And please, when you talk A's, let it all pour out.
Oh, it will. It will. It can't be held in when it's talking about the Oakland A's, because I was ready to sell the team and move on when they got off to their 0-8 start. And now that happened to the A's are the best team in baseball, and I don't know what you guys are talking about. So hey, it's all about emotion, right? Being emotional in sports is so much more fun than logical.
The birth of Moneyball. We got to talk more about it next time you're back.
Thank you, Brad Pitt.
Yes. Awesome. Well, until next time, Matt, we'll see you. All righty, guys. Such a great time having Matt George on. Mitchell, that was a treat.
Dude, the man, the myth, the legend, Matt George, killing it like he always does.
Absolutely crushed it. Love to have him back on. You know what? That wraps up first up on Denny Thinks He Knows. You know what that means, Mitchell Mack?
Oh, I know exactly what that means. It's time for me to turn down my mic because it's time for Second That Emotion.
Yeah.
Taking that emotion, baby.
That's what I'm talking about. Let's hear your top 5.
All right, we're talking top 5. So I challenged myself this week. My top 5 I'm doing are only teams that are in the playoff hunt, that aren't like officially in the playoff. They could be kicked out, could stay in, or borderline like 6 seed, 7 seed. So coming in at point guard, I got Caris LeVert. This guy has been doing a bit of everything since he came back from injury. Last 2 games, listen to this: 24.7 rebounds, 5 assists, 20 points, 3 rebounds, 10 assists. That's a double-double for you, ladies and gentlemen. Next games coming up are Bucks and Lakers. Those are the only 2 games. That's right. Most of the teams only have 2 games coming up left before the playoffs start. So Caris LeVert, pick him up. He passes, he scores, he does it all. Coming up at shooting guard, we got Zach LaVine of the Bulls. The Bulls are sitting at the 9th seed, and they are sweating bullets. Hold for applause. The other night, he had a 41-point game, absolutely killing it. And the Bulls are going to need everything from Zach LaVine if they plan on making the playoffs, which they won't. But they're playing against the Raptors, the Nets, and the Bucks. So I see a lot of scoring in his future, so you got to pick him up. At small forward, we got DeMar DeRozan of the San Antonio Spurs. Right now, in the 10th seed, they're on a little shaky water because they're right in front of the Kings and the other team. Pelicans, there we go.
Pelicans, yes.
There we go. DeMar DeRozan had 23.3 rebound, 3 assists game. He's coming up against the Nets, the Knicks, and the Suns twice. So he's got 4 games coming up. So that's a pretty good pick. And At power forward, I got two options for you, both from the Spurs. We have Keldon Johnson or Rudy Gay. Keldon Johnson had a 20.7 board game the other night, and Rudy Gay had 19.5 boards. You can't go wrong with either of these guys. Plus, Spurs play a lot of team basketball, so you see a lot of guys in double digits, and they'll be two of those guys. Again, against the Knicks and the Suns twice, and it's center. You can't pick anyone else right now other than Domantas Sabonis of the Pacers. The dude is getting triple doubles. He's killing it. 16 point, 13 rebound, 15 assists. That's a Russell Westbrook stat line right there. And then a 21 point, 20 rebound, 9 assists, 2 steal, 4 block game again against the Bucks and the Lakers coming up. And my pickup of the week, Jonas Valachinas. He missed a game recently for injury, but everything I'm hearing is saying he's coming back. He had a 20 point, 11 rebound, 5 block game the last time he was in, and he should be good to go. Last games against the Kings, and the Warriors. Not a lot of defense, not a lot of depth when it comes to big men, so expect a lot from Jonas Valachinas. That is my top 5 and pickup of the week.
Wow, that was a lot packed in one
time.
I'm sweating for you. Wow. That was impressive. I won't be able to follow that with not fumbling over the bar. I'll say that much.
Hey, I fumbled over the bar. I forgot that a whole franchise existed, the Pelicans, for a sec.
Yeah, it was crazy timing. I realized it right after you realized it too. That was kind of spooky, actually.
We're connected now.
We are. Always have been. All right.
Always will be.
All right. And my starting lineup for Major League Baseball, I have JT Realmuto at catcher. My own Cesar Hernandez, 4-hit game today. We're taping on a Thursday. We're taping on a Wednesday.
Count it. It's a Wednesday.
Who knows what day it is, but Cesar's getting hot. We got Chris Bryant at third base. We have a former Cleveland Indian, Jesus Aguilar at first base. We have Trey Turner at shortstop. Mike Trout, he's kind of a regular here on Denny Thinks He Knows in our outfield. We also have Jesse Winker out the outfield, as well as Ronald Acuna Jr. Rounding out my top 3 in the outfield. Pitching, my rotation is Danny Duffy, Wade Miley, and Yu Darvish. And closing me out as my closer, Mark Melichon. Wow.
Dude,
I knew I wouldn't
lineup.
be able to. Thank you.
And I know who Yu Darvish is, so you know that's a good lineup.
You know who Yu Darvish is.
You, Soldier Boy, I tell you.
Oh, my goodness. Well, that was a lot of fun. Mitchell Mack, thank you so much for being back.
Denny, it's always good to be here, my man. Always good.
Amen. That wraps up Second That Emotion. We're going to see Mitchell Mack back next week. We hope. We think. We know.
We know.
All right, Mitchell Mack. You take care.
You too, man.
All righty, guys. That wraps up Second That Emotion. That was such a great time with Mitchell Mack. Again, thank you, Matt George, for coming on the show. Mitchell, great as always. And guys, it's that special time where we head on right on over to Last Straw. And in Last Straw, whoa, this one I was not expecting, everybody. It's actually a little freaky right now. Welcome to the show, the ghost of Alan Rickman, everybody.
Thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, it is an honor. First of all, Alan Rickman, and also, I know you're probably extremely busy. I don't want to keep you. I just want to ask, are you excited right now with the NBA playoffs coming up?
No.
Okay. What about baseball? We got baseball going on right now. There's a lot of exciting stuff going on. Are you excited?
No.
Okay. Hockey?
No.
I'm a little uncomfortable right now. Table tennis?
Yes. I am very excited for table tennis. I cannot wait for Zhao Zedong to take the floor and play some table tennis.
Oh my gosh. Wow, this is really intense right now, guys. Oh wow. Okay. Well, we are very excited.
Danny,
Yeah.
I must tell you something.
Yeah. Anything, Alan Rickman?
I must inform you that I
Yes.
need to go.
Oh, okay. Uh, that
Goodbye.
uh, Alan Rickman, are you still there?
No.
Oh my gosh. Alan Rickman, everybody. That had me kind of like spooked out, but also very intrigued. Wow. Only as Alan Rickman can do. Wow. First on Denny Thinks He Knows. We hope it's not the last. Alrighty, guys, we're heading right on over to Last Straw. Oh my goodness, what a fun-filled, fun-packed show. I mean, so much good stuff with and now Alan Rickman, Mitchell Mack, Matt George. I can't say it enough, guys. It was such a great time. Loved it. And so much knowledge to be had. If you're trying to search for knowledge or entertainment, stop on by. Stop on by. Guys, we're over to Last Straw. And in Last Straw, I have a very interesting take this week. Major League Baseball managers have to wear a jersey and pants, baseball pants that aren't comfortable. Why? I've tried them on and they're not comfortable. What does other coaches have to do? I see NFL coaches being held to pretty much no regard. They get to wear sweaters, coats, cut off hoodies, pretty much whatever they want to do. You got NBA coaches that are probably, some of the most well dressed, many in suits and such. But that doesn't cut it for me. In Last Straw, I've had enough of people, coaches, wearing what they rather want to or wearing suits and such. Okay? You're one of the team. You are a unit. Act as such. Come together right now. Not over me, but over the course of a season. I mean, come on. How fun would it be to see NFL coaches putting on shoulder pads and a jersey and football pants, cleats? That would be entertainment. I would love to see it. Oh my gosh. Could you imagine Andy Reid? I would love to see Andy Reid, in full gear. I would love to see Gruden in full gear. Some of these big personalities in the NFL that, heck, even Bill Belichick, I'd love to see it. My guy Mike Tomlin, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see big personalities wearing full-on gear, full-on shoulder pads and such. And much like in the NBA, how cool would it be to see coaches wearing a tank, man? That would be really, really cool to see a jersey tank on an NBA coach. I would love to see it. It would make the game even more entertaining. And furthermore, if anyone's like, but why? Why does baseball managers have to do it? Okay. They're not running out on that field and catching pop flies or trying to hit pop flies. They're in the dugout. But they have to wear it. So should the NFL, so should the NBA. Throw hockey in there. How cool would it be to see hockey coaches in full-on gear? I'm here for it, guys, and I'd love to see it. Let's make this thing go viral, shall we? Guys, that's my show. I hope you enjoyed. No questions. If you want to ask any questions, send them on through the mailbag. I'd love to help you. I really would. GlasserDenny@gmail.com, all social media platforms. And until next week, you guys take care. Bye-bye.